The stage lights were blinding, but 16-year-old Ethan Miller could barely feel them. His hands trembled as he clutched the old, scratched guitar his late father had given him. The crowd before him blurred into a haze of shadows, and the roaring heartbeat in his chest drowned out the whispers echoing through the auditorium. This was it, his one chance. The chance his mother had prayed for, the chance he had promised his father he'd take. The host's voice echoed through the air. Next up, we have a young man with a story that'll move you all. Please welcome Ethan Miller. The applause was polite, curious, not yet invested. The judges smiled faintly, the way they always did before hearing another hopeful singer with big dreams. But when Ethan stepped into the light, something about him, the way his jeans were torn at the knees, the way he held the guitar like it was a part of him, made the room quiet down just a little faster than usual. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Dad, this one's for you." Then, he strummed a single, trembling note of Hotel California. And that's when it happened. Before he could even move to the next chord, one of the judges, a veteran musician with years of stoic experience, slammed the golden buzzer with tears already forming in his eyes. The confetti exploded before the song had even begun. The crowd gasped. The other judges looked shocked. And Ethan, frozen in disbelief, stood beneath the shower of gold, holding his father's guitar like a relic from another world. But to understand why that one note changed everything, why it broke hearts and built hope in the same moment, we have to go back. Ethan grew up in a small town outside Nashville. His mother worked double shifts at a diner, while his father, Jack, had once been a traveling musician who never quite made it big. Their home was tiny, their meals modest, but their nights were filled with music. Jack would sing Hotel California every Saturday night, not just because he loved it, but because he said it reminded him of freedom, of dreams worth chasing even if you never catch them. When Jack got sick, the song stopped. Cancer had a way of stealing sound from a house, of replacing laughter with whispers and hope with hospital bills. Ethan, just 13 then, would sit beside his father's bed, holding that same old guitar, learning the chords by watching his dad's weakening hands. One night, when Jack's voice was little more than a rasp, he reached out and whispered, "Promise me you'll play this song someday, not just for me, but for the world. Don't let life make you small, son." Ethan had nodded, fighting back tears. "I promise, Dad." Those were the last words they shared. After Jack's death, everything fell apart. The bills piled high, the guitar got pawned for groceries, and the house grew quiet, too quiet. Ethan quit school to help his mother, picking up odd jobs, cleaning cars, bagging groceries, fixing lawnmowers. Every night, he'd walk by the pawn shop window and look at that guitar, waiting for the day he could afford to bring it home. One rainy evening, after a 12-hour shift, Ethan found a small brown envelope on the counter. His mother's handwriting read, "For your dream." Inside was $87, all she had saved for months. Tears blurred his eyes as he ran through the storm to the pawn shop. When he strummed that guitar again, soaked and shivering, it felt like touching his father's soul. That's when the dream reignited. He decided to audition for America's Voice, a show his father had loved. Not because he wanted fame, but because he wanted to keep his father's promise, to make someone, somewhere, feel something again. The day of the audition was chaos, lines stretching around the block, contestants rehearsing scales and lyrics, parents fussing over makeup and outfits. Ethan had none of that. He wore his father's old denim jacket, the one with a rip near the elbow, and a borrowed pair of shoes that squeaked when he walked. Backstage, a boy with perfect hair and a designer guitar looked at him and smirked. "You sure you're in the right place, dude?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess we'll find out." When his name was finally called, he walked on stage with his heart pounding like thunder. The judges asked the usual questions. "Where are you from? Why did you choose this song?" He answered simply, "Because it's my dad's favorite. And I owe him this." And then came that single note, a soft, trembling sound that carried everything he had lived through, the pain, the love, the loss, the promise. It wasn't just a note, it was a story. The first judge, Marcus Ray, had once been a struggling musician himself. The sound hit him like a memory. He saw his own father's face, his own missed chances, his own dreams buried under years of fame and exhaustion. Without thinking, he slammed the golden buzzer. The other judges joined in, one covering her mouth in tears, another whispering, "Oh my God." The crowd erupted, but Ethan just stood there, stunned. He hadn't even sung yet. When the confetti fell, Marcus walked up to the stage, microphone in hand, and said softly, "Kid, you reminded me what music is supposed to feel like. That note wasn't perfect, it was real. And real is what the world's forgotten." Ethan broke down. The audience followed. Even the host wiped a tear. In the weeks that followed, Ethan's story spread like wildfire. News outlets called him the boy who moved the world with one note. Interviews, offers, messages of love, they all poured in. But he stayed humble. He kept visiting his father's grave, whispering updates into the evening wind, "We did it, Dad. You and me." During the semifinals, something extraordinary happened. Ethan dedicated his performance to all the parents who taught their kids to dream even when life got hard. Midway through the song, he stopped singing and said, "If you still have your mom or dad, hug them tonight. Say thank you. I didn't say it enough." The audience stood, applauding through tears. But what truly sealed his legacy was what he did next. Ethan had been offered a recording contract worth hundreds of thousands. But instead of signing it immediately, he asked the producers to let him perform a charity concert for struggling families, especially those fighting cancer. The network agreed. That night, he sang Hotel California under a sky of stars, his father's guitar glowing under the spotlight. He raised over $1 million for families who couldn't afford treatment. And when the show ended, he looked up at the sky, smiled, and whispered, "We kept the promise, Dad." Months later, during the finale, Ethan performed again, not with fireworks or backup dancers, but alone, barefoot, with that same old guitar. He began with the same trembling note that had started it all. But this time, the world was listening. The same judge who had hit the golden buzzer whispered to the camera, "That one note changed my life too. I called my father after 20 years. That's the power of music. That's the power of love." When Ethan sang the final line, "You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave," the crowd didn't cheer. They stood in silence, soaking in the magic, the message, the humanity. Then, slowly, thunderous applause erupted, louder than anything the studio had ever heard. Ethan didn't win the competition that night. But he didn't need to. He had already won hearts, healed wounds, and fulfilled his promise. Years later, in a small music school he built in honor of his father, Ethan taught children who couldn't afford lessons. On the wall behind him hung a framed photo, a snapshot of that golden moment when confetti rained down and dreams came alive. Beneath it was a small plaque that read, "One note can change everything if it's played from the heart." A little girl once asked him, "Mr. Ethan, do you ever miss being famous?" He smiled gently. "No, sweetheart. Fame fades. But kindness echoes forever." And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan picked up his old guitar and strummed that same note again. It was softer now, older, wiser, but still full of love. Somewhere, he knew, his father was smiling too. Because sometimes, one note, one act of courage, one spark of love, is all it takes to remind the world what it means to be human.